Right, chapter 11. Work was becoming an ordeal. I felt physically ill each time I made my way into the salon. To endure the mind-numbing thumping beats of the music they all now seemed to prefer was torture in itself. The salon was busier. In fact, we had more clients on the books than we could cope with. Doomy wasn't content. He tore down the old posters that we had on the walls and replaced them with glossy ones that he said that came from America. The ones opposite my chair showed skimpy women with intricate braids who I was forced to look at every day. Others were brightly colored, advertising various hairstyles that I had never seen before. The posters that really got to me were the ones with a smiling man and a woman staring into each other's eyes. Below that was a pack of femidons tied with a red ribbon. We were a salon and not a brothel, for Christ's sake. Not only did we have to take money for the hair we did, but Mrs. Kamolo now insisted that we push condoms onto each woman who sat in our chairs. I never felt more like a slut in my entire life. I thought briefly of leaving and getting a job somewhere else. Where would I go? Who would employ me? The thought left my mind as soon as it popped in. It looks like there's something on your mind. You don't quite seem yourself today. Lucy was one of my regulars. I was grateful that she had not joined in the mindless minions who insisted that only Dumisani could do their hair. Times are hard, my sister. It's the same for all of us. Hard times never kill. It was easy for her to say that with a perfect husband and family. I was plaiting cornrows. It was an intricate style that I was giving her, with the lines curving in wavy motions around her head. Ah, it's too tight. Sorry, I'll make them a little looser. She must be thinking about a man, Agnes commented with a simper. Why don't you just shut up, I retorted. Someone's in a bad mood today, so it can only be a man. Doomy joked her a wink. In a way, he was right. It was a man. Him. You know, we're just teasing you, Vimbai. He tried to placate me. I wasn't in a forgiving mood and ignored him, concentrating on the scalp in front of me. I had to will my fingers to move in the way I wanted them to, consciously focusing on what I was doing, whereas before Doomid arrived, they moved as naturally as walking. Also, now, I noticed flaws in my work that I hadn't seen before. One line of the cornrows was thicker than the others. I undid it quietly and redid it. Lucy fidgeted. I knew she was thinking that the braids were too tight, but this is the way I'd always done them. That it had become a problem made me feel awful. Had I been getting this wrong for years? Lucy flinched and said, I forgot to tell you all something. Abbas and Son is getting a delivery of sugar tomorrow. Is that the shop that's downtown? It's on Resende. Can you organize some for us? My brother works for them, and I'll be there tomorrow morning. You should send someone to meet me first thing in the morning. One of you will have to come because it has to be someone that I know. Of all the reasons for continuing to work at the salon, this had to be the best one. It was the center of a network where you could hear about what stuff was going on, which was essential when so much was in short supply. Maize meal, sugar, salt, and cooking oil were the basics that one always had to be on the lookout for, especially when you could get them at the gazetted price and sell them on the black market for a quick profit. I volunteered to meet up with Lucy. The next morning, I left home early, making sure Made warmed some water for Chiwaniso's bath. I had to switch off the geyser to save on electricity. It would have to be that way until things improved. I got a lift from a man who was pirating, and he dropped me off at the main post office. It took me time to cross the street because the traffic light was not working, and no one wanted to give way. Cars, or rather their drivers, pushed and hooted madly, trying to cross Jason Moyo Avenue. Heroically, I ran and weaved my way across the mayhem, knowing that pedestrians would always get short shrift. It was not a feat for the faint-hearted. I stopped to catch my breath, leaning on the metal railings that fenced townhouse. The old building stood in its glory, as if the colonial times were mocking the failure of our independent era. It was still the city council headquarters. The colorful Zimbabwean flag drooped impotently on the smog-filled, stagnant atmosphere. There was a curious feature in the square in front of the building. It was a silverish metallic ball with spikes that looked like a hastily cobbled piece of modern art by a D-grade O-level student. It was the fountain from which not a drop of water ran. If my memory serves me right, it cost nearly $1 million when it was built, quite a fortune then, though it wouldn't buy a loaf of bread now. When it worked, it produced a curious ball of water that was outstandingly unspectacular. It was quick to break down, just months after it was unveiled. Everything about the city council was broken except the official mercs that made their way in and out of the gates, as if any real important business was taking place within. It surprised me how, with only 10% of the population employed, the streets were full of people bumping past each other first thing in the morning. I passed a vendor whose business consisted of selling single mints and single sticks of cigarette as I turned onto Robert Mugabe Road. From there was just a couple more steps onto Resende Street. Abbas and Sons was a largish Indian store, one of several in the downtown area. There was a queue of about 60 people already there. A hand grabbed me from behind. I quickly turned, clutching my handbag. It's only me, Lucy said. She was wearing a duku, a handkerchief over her hair as if embarrassed by the hairstyle I'd given her less than 24 hours previously. I pretended not to notice. Give me the money. She took a brick-like bundle of cash I had and stuffed it into her own large handbag. She did not need to count it. We can all tell the value of money from its weight. It wouldn't even matter if it was a few 100,000 short anyways. The way its value was following by the hour. Good morning, I said to her. Let's go round the back, she whispered and turned. We stepped past piles of rubbish and avoided puddles of brown water as we went up the back street. Lucy kept looking around, worried someone might follow us. There was something exciting about doing this. She dialed her cell phone, whispered a few brisk words, and hung up. Just wait, he'll be out soon. Soon was an hour and a quarter later. The door opened suddenly and a scrawny man with a shiny face stepped out. Chop chop, he said, thrusting a bag at her and taking the money in one swift motion. My heart pounded as if I was taking part in a drug deal. As soon as he was done, the man went back in and shut the door. That was it. We had our sugar. Lucy gave me 3 2-kilogram packets of white and 1 2-kilogram packet of brown, and we parted ways. She just earned herself a free session the next time she came into the salon. Once I got back to the salon, we would break the packets into smaller packs of about 1 kilogram each because we had a few more shareholders in the operation, clients who had been in when Lucy made her announcement. I walked back onto the street. The queue was twice as long now and snaking its way onto Robert Mugabe. People were shoving and pushing each other. A group of policemen appeared at the front with batons and took control, making sure everyone kept their place in the queue. The truth is, by giving up their time to baton a few people, they'd earned themselves a place at the head of the queue. I made my way up the road smiling and feeling like an angel. If I didn't have 4 kilograms on either side, I would have floated away high above the skyscrapers.